Because if you're not doing them, it makes your relationship hard. But when you simply just do them, it makes your relationship easier. I mean, imagine what a relationship would be like if we're both trying to outserve each other, outdo each other.
Yeah.
Trying to see who can give more of everything, more of them, more of love. I mean, what would that relationship be like? What would your relationship be like if that's what you were doing every day?
No. Ooh, that's better, right, babe?
Yeah!
Yeah. She founded an architectural concrete company.
He founded a $100 million clothing company.
She took the world by storm as a social media star.
He took the world by storm as a famous serial entrepreneur.
Together we started a business.
And had babies.
Now we're figuring out the best ways to do both.
Join us as we learn from other entrepreneurs going through the same life struggles.
As they share their life hacks about success, love, kids.
And everything in between.
Guys, remember this. It is really important. It is in the giving that we receive. You can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. Quote by Amy Comic.
Welcome to another great episode of the Pretty and Punk Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Caldwell, and I'm here with my beautiful wife,
Ildiko Ferenczi. Hi, you guys. We missed you.
And we have part 9 of our 10-part series of divorce-proofing your marriage, and it's a great one because it's one of the hardest ones to do, and it's towards the end, and we left it towards the end on purpose because it is one of the hardest ones to do. But when you do it, it makes your relationship work. It's the trick. It's the fix.
It's the secret to a thriving marriage that nobody really wants to talk about, but we will.
And nobody wants to do because it takes effort. You have to really put your best foot forward, and it's a consciousness. It's a way of thinking, and if you're not doing it,
it's never too late to
start. You're going to struggle through your relationship, and it is never too late to start. But before we jump into that, hey guys, we hope you're enjoying today's episode of the Pretty and Punk Podcast. And if you are, and you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. It just takes a second. It means so much to us because it really helps the podcast get out there to more listeners like you guys. And if you know anybody it might help and you can send it to them, we really appreciate that too.
We also love and appreciate your reviews. Even the babies look forward to them every day. If you share this episode on social media today, don't forget to tag us. We want to celebrate you because we know it's not easy being a parent in business. And the way that you juggle things makes you a superhero. That's worth a shout out. Together, we have a community of our personal followers as well, and we just want to put it out there. We want to show everybody that this juggle is possible, and you are our family, and we're so proud and grateful to have you a part of this family. So don't forget, all the links are below in the show notes, and thank you again, and let's get back to the show. One of the many questions we ask ourselves is, why do most marriages fail? Well, here's one of the reasons. Most people walk into marriage thinking about what they're going to get, the love, the affection, and of course the companionship. But the truth is that the most successful marriages, they're not built on what you receive. They're built on what you give. The Son of God came here to not receive, but to give. So that's a big sign of what we're supposed to do.
We don't go, you shouldn't be going into a relationship like, what do I get out of this? Mm-hmm. And if that's your attitude, that's the first thing you got to fix, because it's
destructive.
We've spoken throughout this series about how hard it's going to be. And you know what really makes it hard is when you buck the system. When you fight the things that we're telling you to do, which we know are hard to do, but when you do them, it's what makes your relationship easier. Because if you're not doing them, it makes your relationship hard. But when you simply just do them, it makes your relationship easier. I mean, imagine what a relationship would be like if we're both trying to outserve each other, outdo each other, trying to see who can give more of everything, more of them, more of love. I mean, what would that relationship be like? What would your relationship be like if that's what you were doing every day?
That's right. And the truth is, the couples who stay deeply in love for decades aren't the ones that are keeping score of what did you do for me? Or you did this for me, so then I'll give you something back. They're the ones out serving each other daily. I mean, really think about it. When was the last time you went out of your way to make your spouse's day a little bit easier? When was the last time you did something for them? Not because they asked, but because you love them and you paid so much attention to the detail in their life that you saw what needed to be done. That is a weapon of love. Maybe that's a negative way to say it, but it is a strong tool. Well, really, when was the last time that you put their needs ahead of yours? Because of course we all have the needs that we need to do each and every day. And I feel that there's a lot of women, when they become mothers, they neglect themselves because they really understand this movement. And fathers too. There's been a lot of times where sometimes I didn't make enough dinner, so I want to make sure that my husband and my kids have more than me. It's just like, it just becomes instinct, you know?
And
there's
you've always done that. And then what do we do? What's the first thing I say? Babe, do you want some of this? Or, here, take.
Yeah, you're kind and then you give back.
Or, it's like, it's a push-pull. When you're like that, I become like that, even without thinking.
100%.
And I think that everybody, I mean, if you don't know this, you should know this. I know when we had Tap Out, selling clothes is cool and it's exciting and it's a great business, but I always felt the most whole the most accomplished when we were giving back. And I think everybody knows that. That feeling when you give back to somebody, when you, even if it's, you reach a little deeper into your pocket and give a $20 bill to the guy on the corner who's just asking if you could buy him some food, or a $100 bill, when you do that, you feel good about yourself. You feel like you did something to change the world just a little bit. And when I can remember going overseas and helping people, or going to visit the soldiers, or going to the hospitals to visit people in the hospital, in the cancer ward. And that is when I felt the best. That is when I felt like that the business was doing, like, they want to see us, they want, I can give back to them. We were bringing, great toys and treats and things, for Christmas one year at the Loma Linda Hospital in the Inland Empire. It's a famous hospital, cancer hospital. And I remember being there, going through the children's ward and bringing them stuff and just feeling like, selling clothes doesn't feel anything like this. Your greatest accomplishments in your businesses don't feel anything like this. And this is a great feeling. When you can do this for your spouse, when you're able to give back to your spouse, I know sometimes when you're on when you guys aren't doing so well and you're not maybe getting along at that time, but you find it in your heart, like, I'm going to be the one that does something for her. I'm going to be the one that steps out of this situation that we're in and becomes the better person. And when you do that and you do it again, and maybe it's not reciprocal the first time or the second time, but that third time or the fourth time that it happens, you give back and you give back and you try to do something in service to them. And then all of a sudden it comes back to you. You realize that you touched them and you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing. And that's so what you want. And that's how your relationship changes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're waiting for them to deserve it before you serve them, you're already losing the battle. Research from UC Berkeley found that couples who consistently engage in small selfless acts of service experience deeper emotional intimacy and longer lasting satisfaction in their relationship. And that's just proof. Yes, giving, and we talk about it too. We want to do these other challenges that we've done in the past where we help couples and families to start that business. Sometimes you just need someone to believe in you, and you just need a straight lump sum of 10 or 20,000. We've been talking to sponsors and these different people. They're asking, well, what do families really need? Well, they want to create this freedom for their family, and they just need a lump sum. They don't need little crumbs on the way, which is paycheck to paycheck. And that way, that giving of them, they can better serve each other. But I know this is a little off topic, but you were talking about giving back, and that's what we plan on doing. Event. And that's one of our challenges in the end, and we'll get to it later because we have some challenges for you today to implement starting now. And one of them is giving as a couple. So taking perhaps those ideas from the charities you used to, just go into your niche. For us, it's families. For us, it's couples. And that makes us feel good giving together to those families and to those couples. But it needs to start at home. And it is so important. You know, sometimes we're hurt or we're emotional or things are going on. We're in postpartum. We're looking after the kids, you know, either party. So you're holding these grudges, and you just have to let go and just do something kind, and it becomes this waterfall effect that will come back to you, that will soften someone's heart that has built up resentment or whatever is going on. Yeah. They're dealing with a lot. They've changed. And
you have to swallow your pride sometimes, and that's the hardest
Dan,
thing.
You do.
Why'd you say my name? Did you just say my name? You didn't just say my name.
I did.
You didn't just say my name. See, I had to swallow some pride this morning. I was not wanting to vacuum this morning, and I stomped down the stairs with the vacuum in hand, and probably wasn't the best look, but that's and probably isn't the version of how you want to do this, because you want to be better than that. You want to do it with a smile on your face.
I was just praying the walls weren't getting dented, and then the kids said, "Oh, he's vacuuming. We want to play the vacuum monster." I said, "I don't know if right now is a good time, but maybe they softened your heart." And then when you came back up, there was an amazing
Did you hear me pushing on the borders a little hard there? Yeah.
Did.
Okay. So you know, you don't want to. That's not how you want to receive this. I mean, the idea is, and I do try to, you know.
But I know.
I do always try to put my best foot forward.
I know.
I had a lot going on this morning. I was on phone calls. I had 2 phone calls. I had an interview, and so I just had a lot going on this morning. And
sometimes we get emotional. Sometimes we get grumpy. And you could.
There's a better version of that for sure.
Right. And sometimes when someone's up, you got to be the one that's down. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to make him a nice egg
And then I came
breakfast.
up for a great breakfast. So it's like, you know, and I was over it after a couple minutes. I was just I just didn't want to do it right then. I said, okay, I'll do it now. I'll do it right now in the middle of my whole schedule. I'll do it right now.
But you don't even need to do it now. But sometimes we get a little sassy or
I promise we practice this. We really do. But today was just not a good look.
And I feel like when we have our tools in our tool belt, then we know exactly what to do when he's feeling that way. And he wanted me to beg. Yeah. I did.
Her version of it was, I'm going to have a great breakfast when
you don't need to do it now.
Up.
And he's like, nah, just do it now. Well, he didn't yell like that.
Do it now.
That's not exactly how he said it.
That's kind of how I said it.
A little bit, but not quite.
I just said, I'll just do it now. You
do
said,
it.
you don't have to do it right now. I'll just do it right now, okay?
I'm like, okay, how
you don't
can
have
I
to do it right now. I'll just do it now. I'm fine. I got it.
How could we bring it down from a level 4 to a level 1? And then, of course, okay, well, what can I provide for him that makes him feel loved? Well, he likes a nice, healthy breakfast. And that's the thing, too, is I like to go out of my way to make sure that people, like, I'm not just throwing stuff in the microwave. I'm not going to shorten your life. I'm making things from scratch. I'm making things healthy. You're beautiful. I'm putting butter and MTC oil.
Scrambled eggs and some sourdough toast, and you have
right,
me.
but you can't beat those Hungarian spices.
No, and I like the spices in the egg. No, you got me there. And listen, guys, we don't like to. Here's the thing: every single thing on this list, we went through our heads and we talked through talked this out.
Yeah.
How we want to preserve your marriages. We do not
100%.
want you to be a statistic.
No.
And it is hard.
Yes.
Marriage is hard. It's not supposed to be easy.
No.
It's not. I mean, nothing great is easy in this world. If you think about it, anything that you've ever done that was is memorable or that is great or that it will be remembered will always be hard.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be toxic.
Yeah.
It should be hard, but it should be great.
That's right.
You should enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And if you're doing these things, it's why we came up with these 10 things. And by the way, next week's is the best. It's going to be a great one.
Yeah, it is.
But this is something that just takes a little bit of effort, and it's a way of thinking. It's a mindset.
That's right. Because when you serve your spouse, you're not just giving love, you're reinforcing connection. And connection is a number one relationship builder. It creates a cycle of giving, making both partners feel valued and appreciated. And honestly, it rewires your brain to see your spouse as someone you love, not someone you want to win against, because that's a dangerous thing when you are trying to win. Just remember, you're on the same team. And if you treat your spouse like a competitor, your marriage will feel like a battlefield. Really, put exactly what Dan said. Put yourself in that mindset. If you treat your spouse like a teammate, your marriage will feel like home. It'll be the place that you want to run to every single time. Weak marriages crumble under selfishness, and strong marriages thrive under service. Galatians 5:13, I want to throw this in there. Serve one another humbly in love.
Did you get a quote too?
Was that yours?
No, that was a part from the Bible. That was a verse. But I had a great one. Mahatma Gandhi. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And we know how that feels when you could be even in a bad place. You're not feeling right. You're not feeling good. You're stressed out, whatever that is. But when you're in service of others, have you ever noticed how that kind of just goes away? Like that you forget about your own troubles. Yeah. And you feel good about serving somebody else. Yes. And that, as hard as that can be sometimes, when you do that for your wife or your spouse, it really can make you forget about whatever you're going through or whatever troubles you're dealing with, or even if you guys are not on the same page at that moment.
Yeah, and just remember, because this is mostly a business podcast, but marriage isn't a business contract. It's where you only give, or when you only give when you get something in return. That's not the way that marriage actually works. Marriage is a covenant, a sacred commitment to put your spouse's needs above your own and everyone else's.
And remember, guys, if you're running a business,
my husband has to come first over everything and everyone else. And that's the law of marriage.
Say it again? You can say it again.
I did.
Go ahead.
But it goes both ways.
So listen. So the reason why we stress on this stuff is because if you don't have your house in order, if you're not good at home, you won't be good in your business. You can't, both things will not operate. Well, the one will not operate without the other, well, in some ways, but more so your relationship at home will not, or your relationship at the office will not thrive, or I shouldn't say at the office, in your business, might be a family business, however you're doing, like what we're doing, but it will not thrive if your relationship is not thriving. They just work together. And it's why we say this is a business podcast, but it's also a relationship podcast. It's also a parenting podcast, because we are showing people that the best type of business, the best way to get into business, the best way to do whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur is to do it as a family. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do it. It doesn't mean it have to be a kid's business or a parenting business, or it can be. There's a lot of people starting, baby clothing or a new stroller company or whatever that might be, but it doesn't need to be that. It could be finance, and how are you incorporating your kids into that? If you look at other influencers are out there, we talked about last week, a lot of these influencers are out there and they have their kids involved in their business, whatever that might be. So that's the reason it all works together. We used to call it 360 success. And if you haven't heard that before, but it all works together. And when
you
one's
can't have
working,
one without the
works.
other.
You can't.
And when one is getting empty, when the cup is emptying out, you gotta fill all the cups, and it's at different times. It could be your marriage cup is getting empty, or your business cup. It's never fully balanced. I think we have learned this over the years, but you need to invest where it's running low.
Yeah, we try to. There's some research out of California, Berkeley. And we always try to find something to kind of substantiate that we're on the right path when we start thinking about these things. And we found a study from California, Berkeley. It's not super clear, but it says that they found that couples who engage in acts of kindness, so they're studying this stuff, acts of kindness towards each other, have a higher relationship satisfaction and longevity. So that says it right there, that if you are doing these things, your relationship is, well, I hope not just last longer, but last forever. That's the idea, right? Is that we're going to have great relationships because we're in the service of our partner.
Yeah. And also be careful who's influencing you, because there's a lot of friends out there. I mean, not in our circle or our community, but friends that constantly complain about their spouses. You need to cut those people out, or people that tell you that you deserve better if you are butting heads at the moment. Like, just be really careful who you're sharing your business with, because there are very negative, and there's spiritual warfare going on. Come on, let's just be honest. And they're trying to tear your marriage apart. Weak men will tell you marriage is a trap, and women will tell you that, weak women will tell you that you need to put yourself first now and every time. Well, hi, mama.
Yeah, and sometimes if you're doing this stuff, if you're doing what we're telling you to do, sometimes you're making other relationships or other partners, maybe your friends or whoever that might be, look bad in their relationship. So it causes them to lash out, maybe even if they're just joking or poking fun at you. But it's because you're making them look bad in some ways if you're doing all the right things. So,
right. I mean, and we haven't really experienced this, but we have.
Just know that that's where that comes from.
Have had that experience where they had to literally cut people out of their lives. And I think that that's a really important first step to strengthen your marriage. Because in the end, it's you and your husband, you and your wife after the kids are gone. This is only a season of your life where you have the little ones. Okay, darling. Can you pause it? We have to have a pee-pee break. And we're back from that break. So, guys, as Dan was saying, yes, it's time to shut down every weak voice that speaks death over your home. And that's the end of that. Now, so if you're wondering right now, you're sitting there, so how do I shift the dynamic of my marriage today? Well, here is some practical steps that you can start today. And you can start small, guys. Don't wait for grand gestures. Just start with small, intentional acts of service. Bring them their coffee the way that they like it. add some collagen or colostrum, some MTC oil, some butter, make it beautiful, make them
That's how
beautiful.
I like my coffee.
Exactly. And take over one of their daily responsibilities without being asked. Just surprise them. You know what they have to do every day. It takes a load off. And if they're stressed, which we can be very easily, especially as entrepreneurs or mothers and fathers, step in and ease their load. Number 2, here's a question that you can ask yourself, and then ask your spouse, how can I serve you? And ask yourself, how can I best serve them? But make it vocal. Go talk to them. Say, how can I best serve you today? Instead of focusing on what's lacking, start asking, how can I serve you today? What is the one thing that I could do to make your day easier? And this goes both ways, right?
Yeah, and I don't like asking as much. I'd rather just go out. If you know something that you can do, just go out and do it.
Yes,
the dishes
yes,
are there.
yes.
Wash the dishes.
Yeah, you
if
can
there's
see.
something that can be done, like vacuuming, just jump in and do that without cursing it under your breath.
For me, it's an act of love because physically I can't really vacuum anymore just from the movement because of the surgeries that I had. So for me, that shows a great deal of love for me. That's not everybody. I used to love to vacuum, but it's just different now. And I think that halfway through, he remembered this was actually really therapeutic. I love cleaning, guys, but this was actually really therapeutic for me. So it's kind of heartbreaking
I don't
that
mind
I
vacuuming.
can't.
I wouldn't go as far to say I love cleaning.
I love it.
But I do kind of enjoy vacuuming about when you start to get into the rhythm.
I think it's just listen,
it's like jogging. You don't like it so much, but you get a lot of thoughts done while you're doing it.
Perhaps, but the truth is, it is therapeutic. And then number 2, my kids don't have rashes all over their body. I enjoy a clean home. Could be the fact that my mom had many businesses, and one of her businesses was when she came to the country, she became a house cleaner. She was a house cleaner for incredibly high-end clients, famous people, wealthy people. And because she did such a great job, no cross-contamination, because I'm telling you, once you go experience a uber fancy hotel, you will see that things are done differently than, say, the Holiday Inn. Things are white glove. Everything is impeccable. And she gave people the best service always. They literally gave her properties, jewelry. They just loved her. So maybe it stems a little bit to that. I just want to take great care of my home and my family, and I enjoy them looking beautiful and being healthy. Now, next, number 3, make serving fun. You can turn your chores into a date night. Now, I know that might sound weird or whatever, but it has to be done. So if she's feeling overwhelmed or he's feeling, so if they're feeling overwhelmed, make it into a date. Surprise your spouse with something meaningful. My tongue twister. But surprise them with something meaningful. And you know what that is. Start paying attention to the little details. That's why I asked you to ask your spouse, what can I be of service with? But be a better investigator. Just watch, surprise them. And also, I think what is really big is leaving notes. You love to do this for your children. Do it for your spouse. Notes are really big. You know what they're struggling with. You know what they're going through. You know what they need a little bit of extra encouragement to give them that courage and that confidence. Leave those little notes all over in secret places, in a mug, open a drawer, medicine cabinet, whatever it is.
I sent you a text message this morning.
Yeah, text messages are awesome.
At
I love that.
11/11 on our anniversary, by the way.
That's the best.
If you didn't notice the time.
I did. That's one of our little love languages. So 11/11. And then also, we were talking about this before, and I don't want to forget, but it does bring you so much joy to serve. So include your spouse in that. And for us, we've been doing this in our community, trying to marry sponsorships with families that are in need. Sometimes it's really hard to get that people to believe in your vision. And I feel in this entrepreneurial community with the sponsorships, sometimes, as I said, you need that 10,000, that 20,000 that'll really get you off the ground and no questions asked. I just feel that is so freeing, and it gives that family a testimony, and they're able to create something great. So whatever it is, you have a different niche. We have our niches is family business, and your niche may be something else. Give back in that niche through your business, through your family, and include your kids. It's such a great feeling to not only give to your spouse and be generous with your spouse, but be generous to others that you know really need that little bump. And the final, sorry.
No. I was just going to say, are we going to do a challenge for this?
Yes. I was going to say.
A challenge.
So that 7-day challenge, each day, and this is super simple, each day do one small unexpected act or service for your spouse.
I mean,
come up with
7
something
days,
creative.
guys. 7 days.
Just
you can do this
7
for 7 days.
You can do it.
And see how it works for you. Just try it out for 7 days and see if it works for you.
Yes.
And if you can, if your spouse, I mean, sometimes we know a lot of our listeners you're listening together. But if you haven't, if your spouse hasn't heard this, try to do it without telling them what you're doing. Be a secret ninja.
Just do it.
A secret ninja, husbands or wives. Do it without them knowing, and see if it changes your relationship a little bit. See if you have a great week.
Yes, and then at the end of the week, try to open up a conversation around it without pointing it out. But notice for yourself, how did those small acts shift your connection? Because that's what we're looking for, guys. We need connection. Sometimes we're in it and sometimes we fall out of it. So have the conversation, see how it changed. But I really do promise you that you will be shocked at how much changes when you take action. That love is going to flourish, because the best marriages are not built on just feelings or what you get, but they're built on grand gestures, not grand gestures, but they're just the small acts of kindness. And they're built on the thousands and thousands of small acts of selfless love. Selfless love, guys.
And a marriage of service is worth living, guys. When you have that, when you guys are both in competition to outdo each other, who can give more, you're going to have a great relationship.
Yes.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Pretty and Punk podcast. Like I said, it is one of the hard ones, but it's the one that can really change, that has just a way of changing your relationship when you use it. Like I said, our relationship is not perfect, and we're always striving to be better. This morning was a great example of me stomping down the stairs with the vacuum in my hand. But once I got into it and I came back up and I had this great breakfast, I noticed, see the reciprocal, the back and forth, the positives, the polarities, I should say, working together to make a great relationship. So if you guys practice this in your relationships, we promise it'll work. Be sure to listen next week, because next week is going to be another great one. It's the final episode or final version of our divorce proofing up your marriage. And there's so much more,
guys.
And this
it was
is a great
so
one.
hard to cherry pick just a few different topics. There are so many topics that we talk about with our community, and we will be talking about more on the podcast, but we just had to cherry pick a few because we really wanted to have this series for you. And we are so excited to have you a part of our community, and we love you so much. Thank you so much for listening. And if you know anyone that needed to hear this, send it to them. Okay, because it really helps when you share our podcast with people that need to listen to this exact message, and it helps the podcast grow, and it helps get it out to the people that need it to save their marriage. You never know what people are going through behind closed doors. I feel like I'm thinking in Hungarian or something, but you just never know what people are going through behind the curtain, which is exactly why We love this podcast. We love the interviews. And it's just such a blessing. It's just such a blessing to be able to connect with you guys about the things that we've struggled through. And it's great to know that there's other people going through this very thing. So
come out on the other side. And you too. You will come out on the other side if
You
you're
got
going
it.
through something.
You got it.
Okay,
You have
guys.
this.
We'll catch you guys next week.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another great Pretty and Punk Entrepreneur Parent Podcast. We hope you got something from this episode today. And make sure to share this episode with your family. God bless. What a joy having you on the show today. I appreciate you listening. Please share this message with someone you love and might this be the exact blessing they needed to hear today. God bless. See you next week.